Have you ever felt like there's maybe a secret handbook for life, for navigating all the emotional ups and downs, and somehow you just didn't get a copy?
Yeah, like everyone else got the cheat sheet for stress or feeling low, and you're just kind of left to figure it out.
Exactly. If that sounds familiar, well, you're definitely not alone. There's this real hunger, I think, for practical, accessible tools for managing our mental well-being.
And that is precisely the secret handbook we're cracking open in this deep dive. We're looking at Dr. Julie Smith's book, Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before? It's become hugely popular,
Right.
and for good reason. It offers a really refreshing approach.
I love her backstory, too. She was a clinical psychologist, right, in private practice.
Yeah, that's how she started. But then she found this massive audience on TikTok, of all places.
Incredible, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Millions of followers, hundreds of millions of views, just distilling these therapy insights into tiny videos.
hmm And this book, Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before? It's basically her way of expanding on all that, giving you the crucial detail, the context, the stuff that just won't fit into 60 seconds.
Makes sense.
And that's spot on. The book isn't really about deep, long-term therapy skills digging into your past. It's more like life skills.
Life skills, I like that.
Yeah, practical toolbox for anyone, really, whether you're navigating difficult times, wanting to build resilience, or just, aiming to boost your mental well-being proactively.
So it's useful, even if you're feeling okay, just want to get better.
Absolutely. These are powerful, science-backed tools. So our mission today is essentially to give you a shortcut, a kind of curated tour through the most impactful ideas from this guide.
Okay, sounds good. So where does Dr. Smith start? What's the foundation?
Well, she kicks things off by really emphasizing awareness, building awareness of what's actually going on inside us.
Right.
And a key insight here is how she talks about low mood. She argues it's not just some fault in the brain, it's actually a normal sensation.
Normal.
That's interesting.
Yeah, totally normal. And it's influenced by this really complex mix of things. Your body, relationships, your past, present circumstances, where you live, lifestyle, diet, and crucially, your thoughts.
Okay, so it's holistic, not just one thing.
Exactly. And she talks about this two-way road. We usually think, okay, my thoughts affect my feelings.
Sure.
But she highlights that it works the other way, too. Your feelings actually influence the kind of thoughts that pop into your head.
Okay. So feeling low makes you think low thoughts.
Precisely. And that can create these vicious cycles. You feel down, so your mind serves up thoughts like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Or I'm useless, which then makes you want to withdraw, maybe stay in bed.
Which then makes you feel even worse. Wow, yeah, a downward spiral.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense. It's like when you're tired, everything feels like a bigger deal.
Oh.
So how do we actually stop that spiral once we notice it?
Okay, so this is where she introduces a really practical tool. It's called the cross-sectional formulation.
Okay.
Sounds a bit technical.
It sounds it, but it's actually quite simple. Imagine like 4 boxes that are all connected. Thoughts, bodily sensations, emotions, and actions. The idea is to take a specific difficult moment, say, you're feeling overwhelmed by work, and you just break it down using those boxes.
How so?
You ask, what thoughts are going through my head right now? Maybe I'll never get this done. Then, what sensations am I feeling in my body? Perhaps a tight chest, shallow breathing.
Okay.
Then, what emotion is here? Anxiety, dread. And finally, what actions am I taking? Or maybe avoiding? Like, am I procrastinating by scrolling on my phone?
I see. So you just map it out.
Exactly. Laying it out like that gives you incredible clarity. Suddenly you can see where you might intervene. Maybe you focus on slowing your breathing to calm the body.
Which might then help shift the thoughts a bit.
Precisely. It gives you a starting point for change.
That's actually a really useful way to dissect things. And as we get better at noticing, she also talks about these mood pitfalls, right? Common thought biases.
Yeah, exactly. These are like default settings our brain goes to, especially when we're feeling low or anxious. And she's clear, they're normal. Everyone does them.
But they can cause problems if we don't catch them.
Right. They become problematic when we just accept them as truth without questioning.
So what are some common ones?
Well, one big one she unpacks is emotional reasoning. That's believing your feelings are facts.
Okay, example.
Like, I feel really guilty, therefore I must be a terrible parent. Or, I feel anxious about this presentation, so it must be going to go badly. You're confusing a feeling with reality.
Got it. Feeling doesn't equal fact. What else?
Another classic is the mental filter. This is where you zoom in only on the negative stuff and ignore or kind of discount all the positive.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine you post something online, you get, say, 50 really nice comments and 1 mean one.
Right.
If you've got that mental filter going, you'll obsess over that one negative comment, and it completely overshadows all the good ones.
Oof, I've totally done that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like your brain actively searches for the bad news,
It can feel like that sometimes. And then there's all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking.
like things are either amazing or terrible.
Exactly. I'm either a complete success or I am a total failure. There's no middle ground, no room for nuance, which of course leads to really intense emotional swings.
Okay, so there are quite a few of these biases.
Mhm.
What's the main goal? To just stop thinking them?
Not quite. She says trying to stop these thoughts is pretty much impossible and often counterproductive.
Right.
The real power comes from noticing them, seeing them pop up, labeling them, there's that all or nothing thinking again, and recognizing them as biases, not objective facts.
So just seeing it for what it is creates distance.
Exactly. And that distance takes away so much of their power over how you feel.
Okay, so we move from just like identifying these patterns to actually engaging with them differently, which brings us to getting distance using metacognition and mindfulness.
Yeah, metacognition. It sounds fancy, doesn't it?
A little bit. What does it really mean practically?
It's actually pretty straightforward. It just means thoughts about your thoughts.
All right.
It's that human ability we have to step back and observe our own thinking. Instead of being totally caught up in a thought, believing it completely.
You see it as just a thought.
Exactly. You realize, oh, that's just an opinion, or that's a judgment my mind made, or that's just a theory. When you see it like that, it loses some of its grip on you.
That feels like a really important shift from being the thought to being the observer of the thought. How do we actually, do that?
Well, Dr. Smith uses a great analogy. Think of your attention like a spotlight.
Okay.
Thoughts might just appear on the stage of your mind uninvited. You don't always control which actors show up,
Right.
but you get to choose where you shine that spotlight.
Yeah.
You decide which thoughts you give the main focus to, not by trying to shove the others off stage, but by intentionally directing your attention.
So you can't stop the thoughts coming, but you can choose which ones get the airtime.
Precisely. You have agency over where your attention rests. So if you tend to worry a lot, always playing out worst-case scenarios,
Yeah.
you can ask yourself, okay, my mind is good at imagining disasters. What else could I use this imagination for? What helpful scenarios could I focus my spotlight on instead?
Redirecting that mental energy. That makes a lot of sense. And this ties into rumination, right? She calls it the thoughts washing machine, that relentless churning.
Yes, exactly. That feeling of being stuck on repeat with negative thoughts.
How do we switch off the machine?
Well, one active thing she suggests is when you notice you're ruminating, ask yourself, what would I do right now if I was at my best?
Okay.
Even if you feel miles away from your best, just picturing the direction you'd want to move in can gently shift your focus, give you a sense of purpose.
Like a little nudge forward.
Exactly. Or sometimes it's about actively redirecting your attention elsewhere, maybe onto something completely different or something positive, like a gratitude practice.
Oh, gratitude. I hear about that a lot. How does she frame it?
It's incredibly simple, but can be really powerful. She suggests just regularly writing down, say, 3 things you're grateful for each day.
Big things, small things.
Anything. Big things like your family or health, or tiny things like, the sun shining or a good cup of coffee. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
The point is, the more you do it, the more you train your brain to actually notice and focus on things that bring positive feelings. It's like building a mental muscle.
Training your attention spotlight to look for the good.
You got it. It helps counteract that negativity bias we were just talking about.
That's a nice, gentle approach. Okay, so let's shift gears slightly. Turning bad days into better days. She mentions making good enough decisions. What's that about?
Yeah, this is really aimed at tackling perfectionism, which can be absolutely paralyzing, especially when your mood is low.
Tell me about it. Making any decision feels impossible sometimes.
Right. So Dr. Smith encourages focusing on making good decisions, or even just good enough decisions, rather than holding out for the elusive perfect one.
Because perfect doesn't exist, or it just stops you.
Exactly. Striving for perfection often leads to getting stuck in inaction, which just makes you feel worse. It's about making some progress, however small, taking that first step, even if it's imperfect.
Progress, not
Yeah.
perfection. Got it. This connects to another really interesting point she makes about self-compassion versus self-criticism. Most of us think being hard on ourselves is what motivates us, right?
It's such a common belief. We think that inner critic is pushing us to be better. But Dr. Smith argues really compellingly that self-compassion is actually a far more powerful and sustainable motivator.
How does she define self-compassion?
It's basically treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, encouragement, and yes, honesty that you would offer to a good friend or someone you love if they were struggling or had messed up.
That puts it in perspective.
Think about it. If your friend was beating themselves up, would you join in? Or would you try to be supportive and kind?
Definitely supportive. You wouldn't pile on.
Right. And the research actually backs this up. Self-criticism tends to lead to more depression, more anxiety, feeling ashamed, giving up.
Yeah.
Whereas self-compassion fosters resilience. It helps you learn from mistakes and try again without getting crushed by shame.
That's a huge reframe. Kindness as a motivator. She talks about focusing on what you do want.
Yes. So instead of getting stuck thinking about, I don't want to feel anxious or I don't want to procrastinate, you consciously shift your focus to what you do want.
Like, I want to feel calmer, or I want to feel productive.
Exactly. She suggests using another kind of formulation, a formulation for better days, where you actively envision how you'd like to feel, behave, and think. It's not just wishful thinking.
It's creating a target.
Yeah, it's about creating a clear, positive vision for the direction you want to move in. It shifts your energy from the problem towards the solution, which can make a real difference in your mood and motivation.
It feels like our mental health really relies on some core foundations. Dr. Smith calls them defense players, right?
Yeah.
Things that pay back big time if we nurture them daily.
They absolutely do. And these are often the basics that, slip when we're stressed or busy, but they're incredibly powerful. Take exercise, for example.
Yeah. Beyond just physical fitness.
Oh, massively. It has potent antidepressant effects. It boosts dopamine, which helps with pleasure and motivation. And get this, some studies show that doing therapy like CBT outdoors, like in a forest, actually leads to better results than doing it in a hospital setting.
Wow, really? Nature helps therapy.
Seems so. And even gentle movement, like yoga, makes a significant difference to mood. The key message isn't become a marathon runner overnight. It's start small.
As small as you can, I think you said earlier.
Exactly. And find something you actually enjoy, or at least don't hate, so you'll stick with it.
Okay, find the joy in movement. Makes sense. What about sleep? That feels like a huge one for so many people.
Sleep is definitely a major defense player. And it's a real two-way street. Not getting enough sleep makes you more vulnerable to mental health issues.
And poor mental health messes up your sleep.
Precisely. It's a tough cycle. Dr. Smith offers some practical tips, though. Things like try to clear your workspace and mentally close down work before bed.
Create some separation.
Yeah, and she suggests keeping a worry list or notebook by your bed. If thoughts are racing, jot them down. Tell yourself you'll deal with them tomorrow.
Like parking the worries.
Kind of. It gives your brain permission to let go a bit, knowing they're captured somewhere can really help quiet that mental chatter.
That worry list idea sounds genius for nighttime brain spin. Okay, another fundamental. Human connection.
No, absolutely crucial. She calls it an inbuilt mechanism for resilience. We're social creatures.
And it helps the giver, too, not just the receiver.
That's right. Offering support actually benefits our own well-being. And connection doesn't always have to mean deep, heavy conversations. Sometimes just being around people, even if you're not talking much, maybe just sharing the same space, can help combat loneliness and aid stress recovery. It's about that sense of shared presence.
Just knowing you're not totally alone. Okay, so we've got these defense players, exercise, sleep, connection, nutrition, routine. But what about motivation?
Yeah.
That often feels like the missing ingredient to actually do these things when you feel low.
Right. Motivation is the tricky one. And this leads to a really key insight from Dr. Smith. What actually is motivation?
Yeah.
She clarifies it's not some skill you either have or don't have. It's not a fixed personality trait. It's a sensation. A feeling.
Like an emotion.
Exactly. It fluctuates, it comes and goes.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. Motivation is often a consequence of taking action, not the thing that needs to come before action.
Wait, say that again. Action comes first?
Often, yes. She puts it brilliantly. Motivation is a wonderful byproduct of action.
Huh. Okay. Example.
Think about brushing your teeth. Do you feel a surge of motivation every morning to do it? Probably not. You just do it. It's a habit. And then you feel the positive outcome, the fresh feeling.
Right.
Or imagine feeling really low and having zero motivation to go for a walk. But you push yourself to just put your shoes on and step outside. 5 minutes in, maybe the fresh air hits you, you feel a tiny bit better.
And that little bit of feeling better is the motivation to keep going.
Exactly. That feeling is the byproduct. It fuels the next step.
Huh.
You didn't wait for motivation. You acted and motivation followed.
That is a massive mindset shift. So if motivation often comes after we start, how do we actually get ourselves moving in the first place, especially when we really, really don't feel like it?
Well, we can use a few strategies. One is called the opposite action skill.
Opposite action.
It means deliberately doing the opposite of what your unhelpful emotion or urge is telling you to do. Instead, you act in line with your deeper values.
So if I feel like isolating, but I value connection,
You'd push yourself, maybe gently, to do the opposite. Make one small connection, send a text, call someone, even just go sit in a cafe. You act based on your value, not the feeling.
okay, act on values, not urges. What else?
Understanding the power of habit. Remember the toothbrush example? Things we do repeatedly become automatic. They require less and less willpower, less motivation.
The pain barrier of starting gets lower.
Exactly. So she advises setting up your environment to make the desired action easier. Put your running shoes by the door. Prep healthy snacks. Remove temptations. Make the good choice the easy choice.
Reduce the friction, make it easy to start.
Precisely. And for bigger goals, break them down into really small, manageable steps, tiny tasks.
It's like ridiculously small.
Sometimes, yes. And crucially, acknowledge when you complete one. Give yourself a little internal pat on the back. This releases a bit of dopamine, that reward chemical.
Which helps build momentum.
Right. It fuels that desire and helps you keep going for the long haul. Also vital is rest and proper replenishment.
Not just any break, though.
No, she makes a good point. Not all breaks are created equal. Mindlessly scrolling your phone might feel like a break, but it often doesn't restore you like, say, getting some fresh air or doing something genuinely relaxing. Good rest rebuilds willpower.
Prevents burnout. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about when we inevitably slip up? We miss a day, we don't follow through. How does self-compassion fit in here?
It comes back full circle. The broader point here is that self-compassion after a setback is way more effective for getting back on track than beating yourself up.
Even though we think the criticism will drive us.
Yeah, we think it will, but the research shows self-criticism is much more likely to lead to feeling depressed, ashamed, and just giving up entirely. Self-compassion being kind, understanding, but still honest with yourself like you would with a friend.
That actually helps you learn and restart.
Exactly. It fosters resilience. It allows you to say, okay, that didn't go to plan. What can I learn? Let's try again tomorrow without getting bogged down in shame. It's a much more powerful motivator in the long run.
Okay, let's pivot to something that affects so many people. Fear, anxiety, stress. It sounds like Dr. Smith challenges the common idea of what confidence really is. She says it's not about being fearless.
That's absolutely right. This is a really key takeaway. She defines confidence not as the absence of fear, but as being willing to let fear be present while you take action anyway.
Willing to feel the fear and do it anyway?
Pretty much. It's the willingness to move forward despite the fear. She has this great line, courage comes first, confidence comes second.
So you don't wait to feel confident before you act.
No. You act courageously, you step into the discomfort, and often the confidence builds as a result of taking that action. It flips the usual script.
So it's about embracing that discomfort zone. She uses this learning zone model, doesn't she? Comfort, stretch, panic.
Yeah, it's a really useful model. You've got your comfort zone where things feel easy, safe, no anxiety. Then there's the stretch zone.
A challenge zone.
Right. It feels a bit uncomfortable, maybe a little anxious, but it's manageable. It pushes you, but doesn't totally overwhelm you. And then beyond that is the panic zone, where the challenge is just too much and you shut down. Learning stops.
So the goal is the stretch zone.
Exactly. To build confidence, you need to deliberately, intentionally step into that stretch zone on a regular basis. Each time you do something that feels a little scary, but achievable.
You're building the muscle.
You're flexing your courage, as she puts it. And gradually, your comfort zone actually expands. You build real earned confidence through experience. It's about small, consistent steps outside your comfort zone.
That makes a lot of sense. Gradual exposure.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about anxiety itself, she uses that brilliant analogy, the smoke alarm.
Yes. Your anxiety system is like a smoke alarm. It's designed for survival to alert you to potential danger and get you to act. Super useful if there's a real fire.
Right.
But sometimes, like a smoke alarm that goes off when you just burn the toast, our anxiety alarm sounds even when the situation isn't actually life-threatening.
It's overly sensitive sometimes.
Right. And it's designed to be uncomfortable. That's what gets our attention. The problem comes when we try to avoid that discomfort at all costs.
Because avoiding it makes it worse.
In the long run, yes. Avoidance gives you short-term relief, but it reinforces the idea that the situation was dangerous and that you couldn't handle it. Your brain never learns otherwise.
So facing the discomfort within reason is key. What about when that alarm is blaring? Any immediate calming tools?
Definitely. One very practical, learnable tool is square breathing.
Square breathing.
Yeah, it's simple. You breathe in slowly for a count of 4, hold your breath gently for 4, breathe out slowly for 4, and then hold the exhale for 4. Repeat.
Like tracing a square with your breath.
Exactly. Focusing on the counts and the breath itself helps calm the nervous system, slows the heart rate. Another powerful tool is movement.
Just move your body.
Yeah. When anxiety hits, your muscles get flooded with adrenaline and oxygen, ready for fight or flight. If you just sit there feeling anxious.
You feel shaky and restless. Right. She says it's like a rocket with engines firing and nowhere to go. So even a short burst of movement, walking quickly, shaking your limbs, stretching helps burn off that excess energy.
Simple things we can actually do in the moment. Okay, but what about the anxious thoughts themselves? She keeps coming back to thoughts are not facts.
It's such a core message and so important for anxiety. Anxious thoughts are just, well, they're guesses. They're stories your mind tells, maybe based on past experiences or fears. They're theories, not certainties.
And they're heavily influenced by how we feel physically.
Hugely. If you're tired or stressed, your mind is much more likely to generate anxious thoughts. The power isn't in the thought itself, but in how much we believe it, how much weight we give it.
Like seeing a negative comment online. You see it, but you don't have to let it define you.
Exactly. You can acknowledge it's there, but you don't have to fuse with it or accept it as absolute truth about yourself or the situation. Anxious thoughts can be like that they show up, but you don't have to buy everything they're selling.
So how do we practice creating that distance?
One technique is using distanced language. Instead of thinking I'm going to fail, you consciously rephrase it in your mind as I'm having the thought that I'm going to fail.
Adding that little phrase separates you from it.
It does. It highlights it as a mental event, not necessarily a reality. Another really effective way is simply writing anxious thoughts down.
Getting them out of your head and onto paper.
Yeah. Seeing them written down often gives you perspective. They can seem less powerful, less overwhelming when they're just words on a page. Gives you that bird's eye view.
Okay. And how do we actively shift our focus away from them? Because they can be pretty sticky.
Again, it comes back to that spotlight of attention. You can't always stop the thoughts from arriving, but you can control where you direct your focus.
Intentionally choosing what to pay attention to.
Yes. And it's about cultivating, as she puts it, a thought stream that promotes calm. She shares a really touching example about her son being scared after surgery.
I remember reading that.
She didn't deny his fear, but she directed his attention by telling him, the person who had his back was here and going nowhere. She actively pointed his spotlight towards safety, compassion, connection.
That's beautiful. Guiding attention towards reassurance. And reframing. How does that work with anxiety?
Reframing is super powerful. It's about consciously changing the way you interpret a situation. So instead of seeing an upcoming challenge as a threat, you might reframe it as an exciting opportunity or a chance to learn.
Like nerves before a performance. Is it anxiety or excitement?
Exactly. Sometimes the physical sensations are very similar. By changing the label, the story you tell yourself, this feeling is determination or this is excitement, you can shift your whole emotional response. It's about changing the narrative.
And finally, she connects managing anxiety back to our values and identity.
Yeah, this is about anchoring your choices. When you're faced with something anxiety-provoking, instead of letting fear dictate your actions, you can ask yourself, what aligns with my values here? Who do I want to be in this situation?
Like, I value courage, or I value connection.
Right. And then you try to act in line with that value, even if it feels scary. It gives you a sense of purpose that can override the immediate urge to avoid, helping you act as the person you aspire to be, rather than just reacting out of fear.
This leads us nicely into the idea of meaning. Dr. Smith really challenges that common goal of, I just want to be happy. She suggests maybe that's not the right target.
Exactly. She argues that our culture has kind of hijacked the concept of happiness, turning it into this idea of constant pleasure, which is unrealistic.
Because life isn't always pleasurable.
Right. Life involves difficulty, pain, struggle. She uses the metaphor of emotions being like a large bouquet of flowers. Happiness is just one beautiful flower in there.
But there are others too, sadness, fear, anger.
Exactly. And you can't just pick out the happiness flower and discard the rest. They come as a package. Often, the things and people that bring us the most joy are also the source of potential pain or worry. Trying to only feel happy is setting yourself up for disappointment.
That's a much more realistic view of the emotional landscape. So If constant happiness isn't the ultimate goal, what should we focus on instead? She emphasizes meaning.
Yeah, meaning becomes central. She suggests that when people feel lost, unfulfilled, or just kind of meh about life, it's often because they're disconnected from their core values.
They don't know what really matters to them.
Or they're not living in line with what matters. Having clarity on your values acts like a compass. It gives you direction, a sense of purpose, and crucially, it helps you keep going when things get tough because you know why you're doing it. You're on a path that feels meaningful.
Okay, so values provide the why. But how are values different from goals? People often mix those up.
She makes a really clear distinction. Goals are like specific destinations or hurdles you can cross. Finite things. Running a marathon, getting a promotion, finishing a project. Once you achieve it, the goal is done.
Right, tick the box.
Exactly. Values, on the other hand, are like the direction you're traveling in. They're ongoing paths. They're about how you want to live, the kind of person you want to be, the principles you stand for.
So being healthy is a value.
Whereas running a 10K is a goal that stems from that value. The value of health is a continuous path you try to stay on, guiding your choices day by day. The goal is just one milestone along that path.
Makes so much sense. It's the journey
Yeah.
guided by the value. How do we figure out what our values actually are and then, live by them more?
She suggests doing regular values check-ins, taking some time to reflect what's truly important to you in different areas of life, like relationships, work, health, community, personal growth.
Right.
And then honestly assess, how much are my daily actions actually reflecting these values? Where's the gap? And a powerful tip she gives is to link your intentions to your identity.
What do you mean?
Instead of thinking, I should exercise more, which feels like a chore driven by a goal, you frame it as, I am the kind of person who values my health and prioritizes movement.
Connecting it to who you are or who you want to be.
Exactly. This is who I am now. That shift in identity can make changes feel much more natural and sustainable than just chasing external goals.
And looking at the big picture of meaning, she places a huge emphasis on relationships.
Absolutely central. She says relationships are fundamentally what make us human. They're core to a happy and meaningful life.
And understanding our patterns in relationships can help. She touches on attachment styles.
Briefly, yes. She explains how our early experiences with caregivers shape our expectations and behaviors in adult relationships, whether we tend to be more anxious, avoidant, secure, or disorganized in our connections.
Just knowing your pattern can make a difference.
Definitely. Understanding your own tendencies and perhaps your partner's can help you navigate difficulties with more awareness and compassion. It helps you see the underlying needs and fears driving certain behaviors.
And what are some key skills she highlights for nurturing those connections?
Well, self-awareness is huge, understanding your own part in relationship dynamics. Then there's turning towards each other.
Responding to bids for connection.
Exactly. Recognizing and responding positively, even to small cues from your partner. Also, learning how to complain respectfully, expressing needs without blaming, and crucially, being willing and able to make repairs after conflict. Reconnecting.
Keeping the connection strong even through disagreements.
Right. And finally, identifying shared meaning, shared values, shared goals within the relationship. That provides a really strong foundation.
This all sounds incredibly helpful, but also potentially really challenging to do on your own. When does Dr. Smith say it's time to maybe seek professional help? Is there a specific point?
She's very clear on this, and I think it's really normalizing. Her basic answer is anytime you are concerned about your mental health.
So no need to wait until you hit crisis point.
Absolutely not. There's no official checklist you need to meet, no requirement to be at breaking point. If you're concerned, if things feel difficult, that's reason enough to explore support.
That's reassuring.
She does acknowledge the real barriers people face: cost, stigma, access issues. It's not always easy, but she stresses the importance of using whatever resources are available.
Whether that's therapy or books or community support.
Exactly. Things like reading books like hers, listening to deep dives like this one, finding supportive online communities. These can all be valuable parts of taking care of yourself. The core message is empowerment. You don't have to wait to be fixed. There are always things you can learn and do to take responsibility for your well-being.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive into Dr. Julie Smith's Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before? It's really given us this incredible toolbox, hasn't it? So many practical skills and insights.
It really has. It's about equipping people with the knowledge to understand themselves better and navigate their inner worlds more effectively. From getting how low mood works, spotting those thought traps,
Right, the biases.
to then learning how to manage attention, practice self-compassion. These are pretty fundamental shifts.
And thinking about those core basics, the exercise, the sleep, connection, as real investments in our mental health. That interconnectedness really comes through.
Absolutely. Plus, reframing motivation, seeing it as a result of action, not a requirement for it, and learning to face fear with courage instead of avoidance. These are genuinely actionable strategies people can use.
What feels really profound, I think, is that move away from just chasing happiness towards finding meaning and living by our values, accepting that life includes the whole range of emotions.
And understanding our relationship patterns, knowing it's okay to seek help, using all the resources available, it paints a really holistic and empowering picture for mental well-being.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? Well, understanding how your mind works isn't about fixing something broken. It's more about uncovering this incredible power you actually have to shape your own emotional experience.
Yeah, not just when things are easy, but maybe especially when life feels hard.
Exactly. So maybe the question to leave you with is this. What one tool, one idea from this deep dive are you curious to experiment with first? What small step can you take to begin to, as Dr. Smith might say, grow around the wound and live a life that feels more aligned with what truly matters most to you?